Alright guys, how we doing today?
Pretty good.
Awesome. So, we're going to be watching a video here in a minute to get us started, but before we do, I want you to think about the building that we're in right now, about the classroom, and really try and take everything in. Try and think about the things that you use, everything from the bathroom to the chairs that you're sitting in, to the lights over your head. Really think about this structure. And think about also every other structure that you've been in today. You probably woke up in your house or your dorm or wherever. You might have stopped off at one of the other buildings on campus. Think about these places. And with that in mind, watch this video and pay attention to the spaces in here, because I'm going to ask you some questions about it after.
Did you hyperlink the video on the bottom of it?
We're looking at the spaces, we're looking at the rooms, the structure, what these things are made out of. Think about lighting. Think about the things people use. Okay. So, tell me about what you saw. Tell me about the buildings. John, what was something that you noticed specifically in that video that you liked?
There was a lot of white walls and natural light.
Natural light. That's a good one. We're going to talk a little bit about that more. Why natural light? Why is natural light better than what's in here?
Because you don't have to turn it on and off.
You don't have to turn it on and off. That's good from an energy standpoint. It's also, it's good for other reasons, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. Sean, what did you see that you liked in that video?
Lots of green stuff.
Green
Grass.
stuff. Like,
Natural.
you mean organic things?
Yeah.
Natural things, real plants, things like that? That's true. It's good. I bet you those weren't fake plants. I bet you they were real for another few reasons we'll talk about later. Espo, what do you think?
I like how the water from the fountain was going into the machines that were underneath it.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, every time I watch this, I see new things because it's all flashing by really quick. And, sometimes it's hard to pick out what is, what is kind of like video fluff from what is, what can you really take away with it from it. Did anybody notice anything about the warehouse in this building?
Yeah, it was clean.
Clean. It was super
It was-
clean, right? It was the
Yeah.
kind of warehouse you want to work in.
Yeah.
It was a really attractive space. The walls on that warehouse were translucent. So maybe in a workspace, a utility space, it's not practical to have big floor-to-ceiling windows everywhere to capture the light. But with using that solid translucent face, there was light coming in from every single wall, and that reduces the amount that you've got to run the overheads. So, a lot of things that we don't normally think about when we think about buildings. It's all been very carefully designed to be this way. So we talk a lot about green building. That's like the one of the hot topics. That is one of the hot topics of this architecture course. So one of the things closely tied to that is LEED certification. Now, LEED, what is it? What is LEED? Do you guys know anything about it? Jeff, what do you know about it already?
There's platinum, there's silver, they have different categories a building can be in.
Very good. These are the 4 categories that you can certify LEED. There's basic certification, silver, gold, and platinum. We'll dig into that a little bit more later. But basically it's a certification program. What is it? So it's an unbiased evaluator. Everybody wants to have a green space. Everybody wants to say and act like they have a green building, but we can't leave it up to business to business owners and to builders to say these things for themselves. Otherwise, we don't have any uniformity. We don't have we can't be sure that DeWitt's building. He says that it's the greenest building on the block, but how do we actually know that it's any better than Jeff's building? LEED is an unbiased evaluator. They come in and they have their own criteria for rating structures, and it's very flexible depending on what kind of structure it is. But you know that when you look at a LEED certified building, that it's been evaluated by a professional organization. Common standard for excellence. That's sort of like what we were just talking about, where you can't. It's not comparing apples and oranges when you're using LEED certification.
For residential buildings, is there LEED certification for them also?
There is. You can get a home. You can get a home certified the same way you can get a commercial space certified.
Does it make your house worth more money?
Yes, it would. I will get into that a little bit later.
Awesome.
Hang on. Bear with me. It's a tool. It's a tool for builders and designers. So when you sit down to design your space, you could have the best intentions for how you want this to be a green space. You could sit down and really want to make a positive impact for the people who use this building, for the environment, for the community the building's in, but you might not know exactly how to do all of what is required to do that. LEED provides a very clear-cut explanation of, almost like a checklist, what do you need to do to make this space LEED certified to a certain degree. It's a mark of leadership and responsibility. When people see a LEED certification plaque on the front of a building, they know that the builders and designers of that building care about the people in it. They care about the community it's in. They care about the environment. And they're savvy business people. So it's something that really, it really holds water with the community more and more. And as an individual, that you can bank on it. When you go to a building, if you have a choice between going to one place or another, one of them is LEED certified, you just happen to find that out because they probably brag about it. If you go to that LEED certified building, you know that you're going to a space that is clean, it's pleasant to be in, it's a nice place to be, otherwise it wouldn't be certified. So there's advantages for everybody with that. LEED is a partner in education. A big part of LEED certification is to educate people on green building, on LEED, and on what people can do within their life, within their space to do better. So people might not have any idea what a gray water recycling system is until they go to a LEED building that has that installed. And when you're at the bathroom, you're doing what you do, there might be a sign there that is explaining to you what the gray water recycling system is. And it's not, there's no other time where it's going to make more sense to you than right then. So that's how LEED helps educate people. It's a benefit for everyone, like we talked about. It's good for the business, it's good for the builder, it's good for the earth and the community, and it's good for the people who use the building. An incentive. LEED certification very often comes with tax breaks, or sometimes it is required by localities, by cities, or state government. You know, certain facilities have got to be LEED certified to a certain point, and this is becoming more popular. So there's a big incentive for builders to consider LEED certified. And it's a call to action. It's sort of challenging any new construction project to do better, to be better. And most people would agree it's generally a step in the right direction. A lot of these green movements don't have the steam that they should because they don't have infrastructure behind them. They don't have a knowledge and support system like LEED, where there is a common standard of excellence, and there's easy tools for getting the job done and doing it right. So how does it work? Jeff comes up to me and he wants to have a building made. What kind of building do you want, Jeff?
School.
He wants a school. He wants to have a school built in his community. Now, Jeff is a very environmentally conscious guy. He recycles. He wants me to design the building and let him know how much it costs. Now I'm going to sit down with pen and paper, and we're going to have lots of meetings. We're going to talk a lot about exactly what he wants. I'm going to make sure that he has the space requirements that he needs. But in the back of my mind, I know that I want this building to be LEED certified gold. What does that mean? It means it's going to achieve the gold rating. Now, when you're going for a LEED certification, there's a few rating systems that you'd use. There's a special one for schools. There's a special one for new construction or major renovations. There's one for, say I'm designing a building like a warehouse, but I have no control of what's going to go on in that warehouse. I'm just building it. I can get what's called a core and shell certification, which means that I'm certified for the way I built the building. But if the occupants decide to, make chemicals in there and dump them down the drain, I don't lose my certification for that. So depending on which of these rating systems you're going for, in our case, school, there's going to be categories with points, and you earn a certain amount of points in each category. You've got to reach a minimum in each category to get your basic certification, and then by going above and beyond and earning extra points in those various categories, that's where you get your LEED Silver, LEED Gold, LEED Platinum. So down here, I believe that this chart came from new construction. We'll be looking at the chart and the point system a lot more in a few minutes, but okay, one of the categories would be sustainable sites. Did you choose a site that is in the middle of a protected wetland, and you're going to now destroy that wetland or relocate it or cause some other kind of mayhem there in order to have your school? That's bad. You don't do that. So that's going to lose you some LEED points. You want to pick a sustainable site where you're not displacing anyone. You're not destroying anything, you're not interrupting any natural flows of water or animals or anything like that. You're not building a bridge between buildings that happens to be in migratory bird path. These things happen. So there's going to be a certain amount of required points that you've got to get in each one of these categories. And then how far above that you go, it will help you earn a higher rate.
Are those the same categories no matter what type of building it is?
The categories are the same, the requirements within them are going to be different. So, yeah, we'll look at that when we see the full chart. So I sit down and I design Jeff's building, and I take into consideration the rating system for schools and the categories, what I have to actually put into it to get this gold certification, and we build the project. We move ahead with it. I've got to register this with the U.S. Green Building Council. That's the overseeing entity above LEED. It's the U.S. Green Building Council. So to register, it costs you some money. For a project like a school, it's not a huge amount. I think it's about $1,200 for the application to register your project. When all said and done, any LEED certified building had to pay an extra $2,000 somewhere along the line to make it happen. Get the shiny plaque and the pat on the back. So you submit a registration and application. Reviewers will come to the facility, and they'll check out to make sure that everything that you said you did and you're going to do, you actually do. Now, it's not just in construction, it's also in management of the building. So if your maintenance staff isn't keeping up with it correctly, or they're adopting these practices that make your building no longer as good as it was when you built it, and all of a sudden you have these indoor air quality issues, or you're wasting a ton of water that you weren't in the first week of the site being open, then then you can lose points that way. It's LEED takes into account a building's impact over its lifetime, not just during its construction. So if if everything checks out and everything is the way you said it was according to LEED specific guidelines, you would get your certification. And depending on what category you were, whether it be, I believe if it's a space that gets rented out to different tenants, or like an apartment building, you have to recertify each 5 years. Sometimes you have to recertify, and sometimes it's good for life. Do it.
So if I was, let's say, I wanted to go build a house. Before I went and started building it, I called these guys and asked them for like a template. Will they give me a template?
Templates online.
What's that?
I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to show you guys where to find it in a few minutes.
Got all
But
the-
this is the.
What's that?
Way to jump ahead to it.
Sorry.
You're ahead of the game. You're 2 steps ahead of me every time. So this would be the category for new construction and major renovations. V4 is the most current publication of these LEED standards, and they go back to, I think, when was the first one put out? I think 2001 was the first publication, or 2000. But here are your categories. So we're looking at location and transportation. Actually, let's look at sustainable sites. So within the category of sustainable sites, if you want to be LEED certified for your new construction project, under sustainable sites, you must take into account construction, activity, pollution, prevention. So there's a few things that that would cover. For example, when you go and do a foundation dig, and you're digging up a bunch of soil, you're disturbing a lot of soil. What's called silt, super fine particles of dirt, are going to get washed away in rainwater and other things like that. And when they get downstream, they can really wreak some havoc. So one thing that would be required at your site, in New York State, I believe it's required for every site, is a silt barrier that is going to, where you have your construction fence, is going to prevent that silt from washing out and going downstream. If you've ever walked through the employee lot behind Wilbur on a rainy day, you know that the silt barriers are not terribly effective at our site. So these LEED people ought to check that out. So that would be the basic requirement. Now you could also earn another point if you have an extra site assessment, or if you have substantial open space, which is, that's not, how's that an environmental concern? Well, it's not an environmental concern as much as it's for the occupants of the space. You and I want to be in a place where there's open space outdoors. And that's just the way we work. Even if somebody doesn't, realize that, or doesn't express that, it's a human condition. We like those type of things, just like we like natural lighting better than fluorescence. It's the way we work, the way we operate, and LEED takes into account the way humans interact with spaces. So, I designed this building to meet all of the requirements and then some. So, if I can get, there's a grand total of 110 points to be earned. And if I satisfy 40 to 49 of those points, which is basically everything where it says required, then I got LEED certified. If I satisfy up to 60 to 79 of those points, then I got my goal. Now I can design all these things in there, as best as I want to. But when that reviewer comes to the site to check out everything that I did, if they decide that, no, even despite my best efforts to provide adequate thermal comfort, things are not quite up to LEED standards, I don't get those 2 points. Even though I counted on those 2 points, I wouldn't get them. So you really do have to strive for this, but it's something that they have very specific definitions for. Let's take a look at a LEED project. This is the building before. What's that?
That does not look very LEED certified.
It's not. This is the before. This is a It's a mill that was built in, I believe, the 1840s. Very, very old building. I know it's the oldest building in this town, but take a real good look at everything. Take a good look at the site that it sits on. You know, from what you can tell about the neighborhood it's in, take a look at that building and the structure and everything about it. Really take it all in. Tell me, based on what we just looked at on the other chart, what's something that you would improve about that building if you were doing the renovation? Espo.
Something just doesn't look right about the positioning on the street. There's like no sidewalk on there.
There's no sidewalk on it. It's not very friendly utilitarian
I wouldn't
space.
wanna be standing in front of that at 2
No.
o'clock in the morning.
I wouldn't either. John, what would you improve about that building if it was your project?
To go back to the lighting, there's not very many windows.
Not very many windows. This isn't the best picture of the building either. This is only showing one surface, but it goes back quite a bit further than this. It's got a lot of depth to it.
Too many pictures of that?
DeWitt, what do you think? What would you fix? What would you change?
Well, first off, I'd pull off the,
Earn me a
sheets
couple
of
points
plywood.
on our certification.
Sheets of plywood would have to go.
Plywood's gotta go. Plywood's gotta go. It's not safe, it's not attractive, nobody likes that.
Gotta fill in the cracks, cause I'm
Mm.
sure it's gotta be leaking a lot of.
Yeah.
What
Seems
about
like-
green
Seems
roof?
like any heat you put into that building is gonna seep right out through one of the several cracks in it. Let's look at the space after.
Much nicer.
After the renovation, which required pretty much everything but total demolition. This building was a historical site, so it was worth rebuilding. You know, your house and my house probably wouldn't be worth totally gutting and rebuilding from the very steel. But all of the limestone bricks were replaced on the structure. You can see that, you know, the windows for the sake of, you know, preserving the history of that building were left similar, but they're nicer, they're gonna work, they're gonna be a lot more energy efficient. The lighting, Espo, you mentioned the sidewalk, look at the sidewalk now. I'd stand in front of that at 2 in the morning.
Yep.
Oh yeah. That's a nice space. So this old historic broken down mill that was bound for demo got LEED certified building,
Where is this?
Illinois.
They put
Did they
a-
add that gable roof too?
Yeah.
It was a flat
Yeah.
roof before.
You're right, it did.
And fix the corner of the roof.
Yeah. It looks almost to me like, I can't tell if they built the
Different
sidewalk
building.
out on this edge of the building or if they set the building back a little.
How would they do that?
But even
No,
the
they
street
brought
signs.
the corner of the sidewalk out.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't ours.
Looks
And
like
they
there's,
put like
is
a
that parking on the
parking-
side? Yeah.
Area in
So
there.
this project was part of an initiative in this town, called, something to the effect of Revitalize Downtown. They went through and took all the old dilapidated buildings and started to really give them a facelift. In this case, really give them a complete lift from their kind of disheveled state.
Does aesthetics play into it? And the
Aesthetics does play
recertification?
into it. There are a lot of those categories on the big rainbow colored chart that we looked at
That was
that are
kinda
purely
small to see.
aesthetics. What's that?
That was kinda small to see.
Yeah, you'll all be receiving one of those for your assignment. But, there's a lot of those categories on there that are purely aesthetics, and you can earn a point just for improving the way that your building interacts with its occupants, making spaces large enough. Choosing materials that are acoustically pleasing, so there's not an echo in a room, that can earn you a point. If
Like
you
our
can
new
prove that it was
facilities?
designed for that reason,
Like our new facilities, would they get marked down for that?
for not
The
having.
manufacturing lab,
Oh, yeah.
for the acoustics?
I
or
think
lack
a lot
thereof?
of, now the certifications are pretty flexible. So if you can justify that you used a specific material or design for a specific reason and your intent was to, you know, make it easier to clean for the maintenance people or something like that, and your intent was not to, was not in acoustics, then you might, your reviewer might take that into consideration, but if you could do both, you get both points. So, now let's try with the building you're all familiar with. This is Lee Hall, across the fence. We've all been in there, we've seen, we've interacted with this building, we've been in the space, year in, year out in different environments and different weather, and what can you tell me about this building? So how would you improve it? I know it's terrible. What would you do to improve it? Let's say, you have just been assigned the renovation of Lee Hall, and you want to LEED certify platinum. How are you gonna start? What are you
Lighting
gonna
fixtures.
change? Lighting fixtures. What
Switch over to
about-
LED,
Switch over to LED, okay. Why LED?
most efficient.
Most efficient, so you're going for the energy efficiency
they
instead
last
of
forever.
instead of the lighting aesthetic.
Well, they're starting to have new LEDs out there, softer tones, so.
Okay, so you're gonna specify that.
Mhm.
Good. What about, maybe adding some windows or changing some windows? I know if you've ever been up on the karate room or the dance studio, it's pretty drafty up there. What would you do to correct that so that space is nicer, Sean?
Seal around the windows.
Seal around the windows, maybe change it to windows that are a little more efficient?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Green roof,
Green roof. What kind of green
Skylights.
roof would you like to it?
a green one.